Dun 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 dun. Dun. Star Wars: The Force Awakens. I've got to say something about this movie. I have been a lifelong Star Wars fan from the time I was 5 years old, 1977, when the first movie that we all knew as Star Wars, now more often known as A New Hope, when that came out, and I went to the theater with my parents and seen it, that was it. My world was changed. Forever changed. Um, I remember one of my earliest childhood memories is seeing the first set of Star Wars figures behind a little plexiglass in a case with the land speeder, a display case at the store. And oh my god, I had to have those. And somehow I convinced my parents to bring me to Star Wars repeatedly 13 times. I saw A New Hope in some kind of on a big screen. Now, not all of them were in the theater. Not all of them did my parents, take me to the theater and see it. But most of them they did, and the other few I saw in like venues like my elementary school. I remember seeing Star Wars, cast on the big screen right in my elementary school gym. Maybe a year or two after it was in the theater. I don't know, but um, yeah, man, I was a big Star Wars fan, and what appealed to me were the Jedi. Um, I gotta admit, the Ewoks later also appealed to me in their primitiveness, but the Jedi were the big hook for me. And the Jedi are martial artists. Everybody knows that the original Star Wars was heavily, heavily influenced by Kurosawa's samurai films. And the Jedi are martial artists. And I didn't grow up with a church, I had no kind of God concept, but something like the Force made sense. Something like the Force was believable to me. That there's this kind of energy, that field that we are part of. It's a very Zen kind of philosophy that rolls around with the Jedi and the Force and this kind of a thing. And yeah, um, like so many others, I love the Jedi. I want to be a Jedi. And that didn't stop with childhood. My adulthood is no different. Well, it's somewhat different. I'm not playing with toys. I'm not. Although, I gotta admit, man, I have been close. I'm still close. It's probably gonna happen one day. I'm gonna buy a lightsaber. All right, I'll just put it out there. I'm gonna buy a lightsaber because how cool would that be to be outside in the dark and our coolies, you know, winging a lightsaber around. Yeah, one of these days it's gonna happen. I'm gonna buy one or someone's gonna give one to me. I don't know. But I'm a huge Star Wars fan and I'm a huge Jedi fan. And the Jedi's were our role models in many ways. Um, in we get one of our first kind of training montages for martial artists with The Empire Strikes Back and Luke Skywalker and Dagobah. It's awesome, you know. Um, how can you not be into the Jedi? So yeah, I don't know how big of an impact Star Wars characters have had on my development and my direction in life and stuff. But I think it's probably been somewhat significant. And it didn't stop at childhood. It didn't stop with The Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi. When The Phantom Menace came out, I was just as jazzed. And then I had a partner too. I had my wife, Mahoney, who was also super excited. And together, we went nuts and bought everything we can get our hands on of The Phantom Menace when that movie came out. And we still have several boxes of unopened Phantom Menace figures and vehicles and stuff in our storage room. Um, we're very into the Phantom Menace, and we're very into Star Wars. Mahoney also likes Star Trek, but I'm not totally sold on the Star Trek like I am the Star Wars, because Star Trek didn't have any martial artists. I love Star Wars, even the prequels. I totally dig them, but that was before I saw this movie, The Force Awakens, and I gotta admit, when we started seeing the trailers for The Force Awakens, I thought, "Oh no, the worst has happened." First of all, Lucas sold the franchise to Disney, and right away I got my hairs up about that. I thought, shoot, now Star Wars is going to be ruined. It's going to be Pirates of the Caribbean all over again. It's going to be, this is going to be the worst thing ever. Disney's never going to be able to do Star Wars like Lucas did Star Wars. And at the same time, though, I have a little investment account that I put all my proceeds from YouTube into, most of them anyway. And when Lucas sold to Disney, I bought some Disney stock, because I know wherever Star Wars goes, that's where there's going to be money. But even though I was buying in on it financially, as far as emotively, I was very sad. What's going on? Lucas is selling Star Wars to Disney. How can this be a good thing? And when the previews and the trailers came out, it just confirmed my worst suspicions. In a way, it just made them grow. What I saw was the PC version of Star Wars. Here you gotta have a new set of heroes, and it's gonna be a young white girl and a token black guy and this little droid that looks way too cute. He looks like something that should be on a little animated film for little kids and stuff. This BB droid, and I thought, oh no, for sure, this is terrible. The only thing from the trailers that got me excited at all was seeing you didn't see Ray and Finn in the background here like you do with this image, but seeing the new Sith lightsaber light up and have the hilt guards on it. I thought the hilt guards are dumb, but the cross-shaped lightsaber I got excited about. I think I did a video on YouTube about it, actually. I haven't revisited what I said there, but I know it was something along the lines of now they're getting it right. They're associating Christianity with the Sith. Way to go. Sorry if I'm offending anybody, but yeah, that's the only part that got me excited. Other than that, I thought, oh, this is a Disney fight. The trailer looked Disney. It looked terrible, and it looked like they were getting things wrong with the Star Wars universe. Here we have Finn, who we come to know as Finn. In the trailer, we don't know who he is, but he's wearing a stormtrooper uniform, and he's not looking like Boba Fett. And so, but we already know from the prequels, stormtroopers are they're all Boba Fett. They're all created, lab created. Um, they all got the same DNA. So who is this in this stormtrooper uniform? My thinking my assumption was that this was a good guy, and he had stolen a stormtrooper uniform, just like in A New Hope. And this was some scene where he was running from something scaring him and using. I never would have guessed that he was an actual stormtrooper, because stormtroopers are clones. What's going on here? It's madness. Um, that doesn't go away with this movie. I was still wondering, why do we have Finn, the stormtrooper, when Boba Fett stormtrooper was perfectly good, or Jango Fett. Sorry, now I'm screwing up the Star Wars. All stormtroopers were Jango Fett. That's what we were told in the prequels, and they were cloned. But now we got something different going on. So, all right. So, what were my assumptions based on the trailers? Number one, my assumption was with Finn that he's a key good guy and a token black guy, and he stole a stormtrooper's outfit, and he's has something to do with Jediism because he's holding a lightsaber, and we got a new Sith dude here with that's being associated with Christianity, which I thought was kind of funny. And then we got this girl, Rey, who I assumed was going to be Han Solo and Princess Leia's daughter, and that she was the new Jedi potential for the future. Not 100% off base, but a little bit off base when it comes to the real movie. So, let me get into the real deal. And yeah, if you haven't watched this movie already, why haven't you watched the movie? I'm gonna put some spoilers out here, 100%. So might as well stop here if you haven't watched the movie. Go see the movie. All right, my assumptions that the movie was going to be terrible, Disneyfied, that these characters were token characters without any depth, that Rey is Han Solo and Princess Leia's daughter, that Finn is some kind of Rebel Alliance guy, stole a stormtrooper's outfit, that the droid, BB droid, was, goofy. All of my assumptions were wrong. I'll just tell you that. I was terribly, terribly wrong. When we went to the theater, first of all, this was the first time a Star Wars movie had come out that I can remember that I didn't want to go right away. Because I was so bummed out that it was with Disney, and because the trailer looked like garbage to me, I didn't want to go see it. My wife, Mahoney, didn't want to go see it either. We were perfectly content. We were like, Star Wars. That's not the real Star Wars, you know. Maybe we'll just wait on this one, watch it when we can pirate it or whatever. Why go spend the money and go see this? It's gonna suck. But then, when it had been out like a week or so, I started to get the bug. Let's go see Star Wars. And Mahoney wasn't into it right away. She was like, "No, we got important things to like put our money on, like paying our bills and stuff," which is true. We're struggling because I'm still not really employed. But I wore her down. And soon enough, we were in a theater going to see The Force Awakens. And so, at the very beginning of the film, you have the usual image of space, and the gold letters show up a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and that first musical note hits, and I get a huge lump in my throat. Big time. It's totally nostalgic for me. And I don't know why. None of the prequels hit me like that. But something about Force Awakens, from beginning to end, there was stuff in there that was really making it tough for me. I got jaw quivering, I had lumps in my throat, I had all kind of stuff going on. I did not, by the way, cry or get even choked up when Han Solo died. Dun dun dun. Big spoiler there if you haven't seen the movie. I myself was subject to a spoiler on Facebook where one of my friends said, "The moment Han Solo died, my heart died as well." So I had time to kind of digest the fact that I was going to see Han Solo die. So when Han Solo died in the movie, it didn't affect me at all. It was expected. I was waiting for it. I knew it was going to happen, and when the moment was there, I was like, oh yeah, this is where he's going to die. I was more excited about it than anything else. Sure enough, he gets killed, and it is patricide by his son, Ben Solo. We'll talk about Ben. But let's go back to just the overall sensation of seeing this movie for the first time, because now I've seen it twice. The movie I didn't want to see at all, I've seen twice. Reason being, I saw it the first time, and when I saw it the first time, I wasn't all impressed. It did emotionally affect me very strongly, but I chalked that all up to nostalgia, and my actual impression of the movie itself was that it didn't have the Star Wars spirit. And my daughter and my wife felt the same way. We talked about it. We were like, something felt off. It didn't feel like Star Wars. It didn't have that thing. You know what well, just wait. I won't go there quite yet. But that's how we felt. Didn't have the Star Wars spirit. And it felt like there were way too many tributes to the old Star Wars, especially A New Hope. Because the plot's basically the same. You know, you have someone living in the desert. It's not Tatooine, but it might as well be. Who is a latent Jedi. In the form of the lead character, who is not Finn, as some might surmise from the trailers, but is Rey, the girl. She's the lead character, and she's the latent Jedi, which we learn as the movie goes along. And she's living kind of like an orphan, much like Luke Skywalker in a desert environment, but she's taking care of herself. She doesn't have any Uncle Owen and Aunt Maru. And she's very self-efficient. She's living in a broken down AT-AT, like an old abandoned AT-AT that's laying in a sand dune, half covered. That's where she lives. She collects junk. She goes into town. She trades the junk for food, usually just percentages of a portion. This is worth half a portion of food, and she takes her food and she's starving. But um, she's not so starving that she's willing to have it corrupt her sense of right and wrong in the world. So here you see her um, rescuing this BB, what do they call it? BB6, BB8? Can't remember. But she's rescuing this droid who's about to be turned into a slave by this desert collector guy. They say his name in the movie, but I can't remember what it is. Anyway, she's saving it because she doesn't think this is right. And she saves it and sets the droid free, and the droid just decides to follow her, and she reluctantly accepts it. But yeah, it's very much a Luke Skywalker type of figure living on her own in the desert. She rides this thing that's very land speederish looking. And then the movie is about her finding out that she has this, a part of the movie is about her discovering that she has this latent Jedi quality, and that she can be part of this new resistance movement that's going on, and that and she discovers, the Force is real, these myths that she's heard, and some of the people that are involved in the myths, including this Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, and all of these are real people. And she is strong with the Force, she eventually learns. All this stuff is adding up. At the same time, the subplot is that the bad guys have this new weapon that's just a Death Star. It's a bigger Death Star, a much bigger Death Star. This is a planet-sized Death Star. And in fact, it's like built into a planet. And it sucks the energy out of a sun. And when it sucks all the energy so that the sun turns dark, then it's ready to fire. So there's this big long time when it's getting warmed up from sucking the energy from the sun. That's the only time you can stage some kind of attack on it. But once it's all charged, it blows up whole solar systems. It takes out all the planets in entire solar systems. So it's just a Death Star. And a big part of the movie is the same thing as in the original Star Wars, is this attack on this Death Star to try to knock it out. Not by the Rebel Alliance this time, but by the Resistance. Same thing, right? And a big part of this movie is about understanding that these things carry forward, that these same polemics, the light and the dark, carry forward and take on new iterations always. And so the Empire changes into, I forget what they call the new First Order or something like this. And the Rebel Alliance changes into the Resistance. But in any case, these new forms have that same spirit guiding them. So where was I? My first impressions. Yeah, Star Wars didn't have the same spirit, I felt, and too many tributes. Too much connection, too much of the same plot, right? That was but it was it affected me very much emotionally. Like I said, I was choked up the whole time. So I went home. Me and my wife, Justine, we all talked about it. We all had the same impression. We all weren't impressed. And a week later, we all wanted to see it again. So back we went for round 2 of The Force Awakens. And this time, our impressions were much different. I think perhaps because the movie was now familiar, we'd seen it already, we knew what happened. This time, we all left the theater saying, no, that felt like a Star Wars movie, and I think that was better the second time around. I think because it wasn't familiar before, because there were so many new faces and new stuff and all this, that maybe was perhaps why, because it was a new movie. That's why it didn't have the Star Wars feeling. That, and wasn't made by Lucas. But was that a bad thing? On second glance, I'm thinking no. I'm thinking the best thing that ever happened to Star Wars is that they got it away from Lucas. Because after watching The Force Awakens again, we all left the theater and we were like, that's a good movie. That's a really good movie. It's a really good Star Wars. In fact, unlike the prequel Star Wars, this one, the characters have a lot of depth. It's not just that same old plot. There's a lot of philosophical stuff going on. I mean, the first Star Wars was very mythological, for sure. There was things to consider in there, but this one goes deeper. One of the things I was impressed with. Let's take character by character. Let's look at Rey. Okay, this girl. I thought, all right, they're doing the diversity thing. They're being PC. That's what my original assumption was. But Rey is really a good character. She's a real kind of a role model in the way that somebody close to the Force should be. She's very self-sufficient. She's got a head on her shoulders about what's right and wrong. She stands up for those who are being bullied. She, several times in the movie, kicks ass on guys. It's never made a big deal that she's a girl. Except a little bit by Han Solo. But we get the feeling that he really likes her. And we learn a surprise about it. Well, it's not really spelled out, but it's there. Everybody knows. Everybody knows who Rey is now. And for those of us who assumed it was Han Solo and Leia's daughter, we were wrong, but we weren't so wrong. We learn that Rey is strong with the Force. And we get to watch her get introduced to that in the same way that we got to watch Luke Skywalker get introduced to it, but it's even better with Rey. She's, well, for one, a better actor than Mark Hamill, and and she's not being directed by Lucas, so she's got better direction, and we got a whole history of seeing Jedis become Jedis, and with her, it's very cool the way that it happens. So, in fact, there's 2 points with Rey actually where I got very choked up. And the first point was when she's fighting with Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren is the bad guy. He's the bad guy of the movie. And might as well say it now. Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, same guy. So Kylo Ren's the bad guy. He is the Sith for the most part. He's the dark side of the Force, and he tries to kill Rey. And actually, by that point in the movie, she has the famous Luke Skywalker's lightsaber that called to her while they were in this funky little spaceport run by this Maz lady. In the basement of the spaceport, in this chest that looks a little bit too much like old wooden Pirates of the Caribbean treasure chest, was Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, and it called when she passed the stairway. When she walked past, it called to her. It had some voices and stuff, and she followed it. And she had when she opened the box and saw the lightsaber and touched it, she had this collage of powerful experience. She was hit with all of these, some of them personal memories of her own about when somebody left her on that planet, um, and all kinds of other things happen, like the it's like a Harry Potter wand thing. The lightsaber has chosen her, and before that, it had chosen Luke. But we all know from the New Hope that Luke's lightsaber had once belonged to his father. So it's coming down through generations, and now it's landed at Rey. So what do we make of that? So when Rey is fighting, um, basically her cousin, there's a point where she loses, where the lightsaber is, Luke's old lightsaber is off to the side, and um, Kylo Ren tries to get it. He's using the Force, holding his hand out, trying to get it to come to him, and it goes flinging, but it flings past him. And myself, as well as I'm sure a lot of people, expected it would fling past, and then we'd see it in the hands of Luke, because as far as we knew, Rey was knocked out at that point. But no, she had come to, and it was Rey, and she was holding it. And that little bit of Jedi theme music came up, and the big lump in the throat. It was powerful. We know now the new Jedi. Okay, the new light side of the Force has been revealed in Rey. So yeah, we got this Rey character, who really is not just a girl, but it's interesting that she is, a female, because we're starting to see in the female characters a lot of cool stuff. We got this Maz, who's a new character. She is able to see through people. She looks at Finn, who we might as well go into Finn too. Finn is an escaped stormtrooper. He's a guy who was born to be a stormtrooper, born and bred to be a stormtrooper, but it gets into this kind of like nature versus nurture thing, which ends up ironically playing out in another way later. But yeah, the nature versus nurture. Stormtroopers are human beings too. They got the potential to see the light. They got the potential to recognize right from wrong. And this is what happens with Finn. He's just a number. He later becomes Finn. And he's an escaped stormtrooper. How he's not looking like Jango Fett, we got no idea. But just leave that aside for now. That's a mystery. He's Finn. And he tries to present himself after escaping as a member of the resistance forces. And but Maz here, who's one of Han Solo's very old friends, and like I say, the lady who runs this weird spaceport and has Luke Skywalker's lightsaber in a Pirates of the Caribbean treasure chest down in the basement, Maz sees through Finn, and she sees a guy who's running, who's scared and running, and this is the impression we get through him all through the film. But I think she sees deeper, and the movie doesn't like spell it out for you, but you got to think about it, right? Not only is he running, not only does she see that he's actually like literally running from the First Order, whatever they call themselves, the bad guys that he was once a trooper with, but escaped. Not only is he literally running from them, he is running in terms of his identity. Like, he doesn't know who he is, and he doesn't like who he is. He doesn't like that he's a stormtrooper, and he doesn't want people to know that, really. He tries to hide it, but it keeps coming out. And he even tries to misrepresent himself to Maz here. This is when she really like cranks up cranks up her lenses, turns on the binocular viewing, and looks in his eyes and says, "Ah, yeah, you're running," because she recognizes that running, I think, at a deeper level, that he's running from himself. He doesn't want to, he's not happy with his identity, and I can totally identify with this guy because I was raised as a stormtrooper too. I was born and bred pretty much, an American. And therefore, when I was in the military, I was a stormtrooper. And I recognized it in the same way that Finn recognizes it. As soon as I was in there, I was like, oh shit, what are we doing here? I'm the stormtrooper. I thought I was going to be the Jedi. But no, we're the bad guys. We're the Empire. We're the stormtroopers. In the movie, they make the First Order, whatever they're called, out to be like Nazis, right? So we get scenes like this where we see, large parade formation groups of their troops with these red flags, and they're listening to this speaker, this tyrannical Nazi dressed speaker. And even at the end of his speech, they give the whole Hail Hitler looking thing with their hands. And it's very, very throwback to Nazi. This, I kind of thought was bad taste. I mean, I understand why they use this reference, but it would have been interesting to put it forward, because what they're basically saying throughout the other part of the movie, throughout the rest of the movie, is that these same forces of the past, the dark, even though vanquished, come back in a new form. So why are they using the old form, the Nazis, when the new form, who's the Empire today? We all know who it is. I don't even have to say it, but I was part of it. And I retreated and I ran away from that identity. I was running away from the identity, same way Finn runs away from his identity. And this is what Maz sees. This is a guy who's running, not just from an enemy outside, but from who he is inside or who he thought he was. He's running away from his identity that he doesn't like. So this makes Finn's character way more than that of the token black guy. Finn's character is super deep with this guy who's running, away from his identity and having a very big problem doing that. Not that he's a stormtrooper at heart or anything, but he keeps getting caught trying to misrepresent himself, or he tries to misrepresent himself. He just doesn't seem honest, So it's gonna be exciting to see what happens with Finn in that respect. All right, so we got Finn, we got Rey. The little droid, the little BB droid, I'll just say this much. I thought it was going to be this little goofy, cutesy droid, but I really did end up enjoying his character, his personality. Just like all the Star Wars droids, he really does have a personality. And even though he's cute and everything, he's heavy as hell, and he clunks around a lot of times. And I end up liking him. There's some good moments too where he's relating with people in enjoyable ways. So yeah, that's enough on the droid. Now let's go to Ben Solo. Probably named after Ben Kenobi. Ben Solo, aka Kylo Ren, the first Jedi-ish kind of person, other than maybe the Anakin in the prequels. Anakin in the prequels is pretty interesting, who turns into Vader. But once he turns into Vader, he becomes kind of boring, really. But Kylo Ren is anything but boring. Kylo Ren is, it's good that they keep taking off his mask. So we see that there is a Ben Solo, and then there's a Kylo Ren, and a Ben Solo, and a Kylo Ren, and a Ben. And this is what's going on inside of him, too. He was trained, he was being trained by Luke Skywalker, and then he was seduced to the dark side by this new bad guy, Snoke, who looks a lot like Lord Voldemort from the Harry Potter series, but also, as people have been pointing out online, he has scarification that suggests that this is a new iteration of Vader. So this could very well be Darth Vader, right? Snoke. But yeah, Ben's not really sure that he wants to be on the dark side. He really enjoys his powers. He's got really good powers, he's really strong with the Force, and he enjoys using his powers. He's very impressed with himself. He's very egotistical. But he's also a hothead. When things go wrong, when his decisions end up humiliating him and things don't go the way he wants, he throws temper tantrums. He's the first of anybody with a high metachlorian count to throw temper tantrums. So, and take out his lightsaber and start just chopping everything down because he's all pissed off and throwing a fit. Really, who does this remind us of? The immaturity of the guy who could be something good, but just that immaturity messes him up. Ben Solo. Poor Ben. He's another character who is so unsure about his identity. He wants to be the new Vader. I mean, he talks to the old helmet and crispy fried skull of his grandfather, Darth Vader. Instead of taking as a role model his father or his mother, he takes on his grandfather, Darth Vader. This is the only real thing I think that gives any cause for why he would be so attached to the dark side. Vader was extremely powerful with the Force. And if he wants to be very powerful, which he does, then he needs to stay with the dark side. So, yeah, he's a very interesting character, and as I already revealed, he kills his dad, Han Solo. And he kills his dad in an attempt to kill himself, in an attempt to kill Ben Solo and become more Kylo Ren. But as it turns out, we know that Kylo Ren is not so strong himself, because we see the lightsaber battle with his cousin, and she beats him, and she's not even trained. And one of the things that's interesting is that this kind of power of the Skywalker women, this latent power of the Skywalker women, is starting to emerge. And I think we should pay attention to it. You have Rey, who displays a lot of power for somebody who is untrained in this movie. And you have Leia. Leia is very interesting. Leia is a Skywalker. But I saw a meme couple of days ago that was really good about Leia. It says, Leia is a Skywalker, and Leia has, in her lifetime, her mother died at her birth. Her father was evil, considered evil by many, and was killed by, well, not necessarily by her brother, but he was killed. She saw her home planet destroyed, along with the people who she grew up with and thought were her parents, thought of as parents. Her brother has been forced into exile. Her husband in this new movie is killed, and her son has turned to the dark side. Leia has seen a lot of shit in her life, and yet you don't see her, going off the deep end and being wishy-washy and turning to the dark side and questioning her identity. She's very, very strong. So these Skywalker boys, they need to be paying attention and get their stuff together. It's very true. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen with Leia as much as I am with Rey. Rey, we kind of know what she's doing. And this was the second scene where I got choked up with Rey, when at the very end of the movie, she takes Luke's lightsaber, jumps in the Millennium Falcon with Chewie, follows the map that they have got from a combination of, two pieces, part of the map in R2-D2, part of them in this BB droid, put them together to see where Luke is. She takes the lightsaber, brings it to Luke, and we only see Luke for a few seconds at the end of the film, but the look that he has on his face, he doesn't even say a thing. He's up there on the top of a mountain, and he's got his Jedi robes on, and he slowly, he turns to see her, and then she holds out the lightsaber, and then he pulls his hood back, and the whole while, you just see the expression, and we're gonna see what kind of actor Mark Hamill is under different direction. But in this movie, I felt his body language was very powerful, and it is apparent that Rey is his daughter, and she just holds his lightsaber up to him, and I don't know why, but it's extremely powerful. It's a good thing they had those dark 3D glasses, because I wouldn't want my wife to see my teared up eyes as I left the theater after seeing this scene. So, when all is said and done, Star Wars The Force Awakens is, in my estimation now, one of the best Star Wars movies. Probably third best. Definitely better than anything we've seen in a long time. Definitely way above what Lucas has produced in a long time. It's a good thing that this left Lucas's hands. We're going to see some powerful directors work with these characters and with this world, and I think we're going to see some great things happen with Star Wars. After seeing this movie, even though I wasn't hyped at all for it, I am wicked excited for what's going to come, and it's going to come fast. We're going to get hit with a Star Wars barrage over the next 5 years, and really, I can't wait.